This command right here is pretty funny because once you understand, once you know the difference between relative and absolute path, well, you understand that once you delete all your system thanks to misunderstanding this difference right there. In this case, I'm just setting up my current folder for today's episode, and I don't know, each time when I going to execute a command similar like this, uh, just give me memories. I don't know if good or bad memories. Once that time I delete my whole system because I execute this command without this dot just right there. So this is pretty different than this. So be careful, understand clearly absolute and relative paths. And once you understand that topic 100%, you can execute, or you are authorized to execute RM, RF, whatever you want. So yeah, that's all. Okay, I don't care about this because it's just okay. This doesn't delete. Give me a sec. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. I think because I'm just inside the same folder. So let's go back and try this again using the course temp. And as you can see, okay, the such file you can remove is a directory. Okay, because I forget this one because we are using recursive option. That means if you are talking about a folder, this going to delete the folder and all their content, and F to force that. So let's do it. And it seems my system is well, I hope so. And that's right, because yeah, it's all working. I hope so. So let's create and go back to this new episode or Devops series. In this episode, we are going to cover the basic handling permission, or how to handle the basic permission. This episode is funny because we cover the basic permissions after the complex ACL rules or policies. So yeah, enjoy that. So let's go. And in this episode, I'm pretty lazy, so I'm not going to log in into the server. I'm going to perform all the actions inside my machine because it's not a big deal. So let's create the, in this case, course temp folder, and we are going to use this folder to perform all the video operation, or all the operation we are going to do or perform in this video. We are going to start talking about permissions, but the basic permission. I already told you about it, but it may be the first time you're watching one of my videos, so maybe it's good to review the information each certain time. So let's create, maybe, I don't know, archive. Well, archive has a different meaning than Spanish, so let's create file.txt. Text, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. And well, once we create this folder, I want you to notice something different. Just when once we use the ls and the l param, because you already know how to work ACL. But don't worry, if you don't even know what is ACL, don't worry about it. It's just because this way, or the way we are going to handle permission in this video, is pretty different than using ACL, because we are going to change these ones. and is pretty different than ACL, where we have to add we have to add extra rules and use different commands and get FACL, set FFCL. We're not going to use that commands. We are only use just one command. In this case is chmod to modify the permission, the files permissions. So first of all, what does mean this information just right there? Okay, just right now I know, or yeah, I finally know how is this character called, like hyphen or en dash. I hope is hyphen more easy to remember. So yeah, once we see these different hyphen characters and this R, W, and in this case we are going to use an X. Well, first of all, hyphen character is just mean, or just means there is no permission, or there is no, or we don't give permission to perform that operation. The first one is not related with permission. The first one is related with the kind of the entity or file, because file is just something that has content but is not a folder, because it's file, folder, hyperlink, whatever. So in this case, I want you to notice this different, making a folder, and as you can see, meanwhile the file doesn't have nothing, just the hyphen. In the case of the folder, we have the D about directory. So in other hand, we have this permission just right here. If you see, we have the R, W, and X. These things, or this stuff, stands for R about read, write, W about, or yeah, it stands for write, and the X stands for execution. And this is for all the entities in the same system. In my case, it's different because you can write a folder, or you can, inside quotation mark, execute a folder, but you can read, write, and in this case, I cannot execute this file just right there. Maybe to clearly understand what this does mean in the folder context, let me see the information just right there. And in the case of the read folder, that means we can list each item inside of it, but just list. That means use the ls command to see the content. In the write permission, that means we can create, modify, and delete files or folders inside of it. And the last one, execution, that means we can get into the folder. So I think that's all. And also you asking why this repeat 3 times and each time is different than others, because in the folder case we can read, write, and execute, and you don't even know who can read, write, and execute. But in another hand, we only have read and execute, and the other one also have read and execute. So first of all, you want to notice the default behavior, and as you can see by default behavior, once I create a file in this way, you see in this case the first element is the author file, this one, because maybe the author could be changed. So it doesn't matter if Chris create this file, because if I change the owner using sage own, so that means this permission is about this guy just right there. The second permission is about the main group, and the last one is about others. So that means people that is not is not the author, and people that is not get into or is not belong in the Chris group. But what does mean this group just right there? But well, remember, the groups can have just one main group, and by default is the user's principal or main group. To know what is, in my case, my primary group, I can use ID. And as you can see, my he ID is this one, and also is Chris, because by default, once we create a user, it's also create a group with the same name as the user and assign automatically to the user once it's created. So in my case, all file that I create obviously going to, well, yeah, going to link my name, my user as author because it's obvious, but also the file going to link my group ID, my primary group. So in other hand, once we already know what does mean this one, each of three, this one, why is the primary group and more, let's see how to change these permissions. Because maybe, for example, in this file, I'm going to give the execution permission for, in this case, the author, the user, and no more. So for this case, let me clear the terminal and use ll again. In this case, we are going to use chmod, and there are two different ways to distribute this permission. There are the numeric way and the verbal or just characters or letters way. In this case, we are going to use the characters or verbal way, and the next episode we are going to use the numeric way, because the numeric way also involves sums, and well, maybe depends on if you want to give just read, and the read means if I am not wrong is 4, and if you want to give, if you don't want to give anything, you use 0, and well, it's different. And maybe the human readable or just the letter way is easy because it stands or follow the same format. And in this case, just remember, in this case, the entity, I am going to use the entity, the action, just add or remove, and the permission, well, the permission obviously, and the file, in this case, file.txt. So in the entity, we can use the user, author, the main group, G, the others, O, and A, that is stands for all. It's funny because Chmod also can modify the ACL rules. So if you have a lot of users than just the author, you can also perform a permission that is going to set a specific permission to all the users. So you can use the A to perform that operation. So in this case, I'm going to give the executable permission. So because I want to, well, if I want to give the to the user, I'm going to use the U. If I want to use, or if I'm going to add, not remove, I'm going to use the I forget this, I'm sorry, plus or minus is the difference is obvious to add and remove. And also the permissions are the letters you already know: read, write, and execute. You can use all at the same time to give more than one permission, or use just one or two, whatever you want. So in my case, I'm going to use the executable permission. I'm going to add this executable permission to the user. So once we perform this command, let's see again, and as you can see, we see the executable permission for in this case, the author. As you can see, why I'm using the sech, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm using this one and not bash, and also because I'm using Alacrity terminal, I see, or I have different colors depending if I am using a file without execution permissions. If I already have execution permission, doesn't matter if for the author or for others. Once we add the execution permission, this color will change. And also, if we are talking about folder, the folder use this blue color just right there. So let's perform some different operations than use user. For example, maybe if I want to remove, is the same thing. Just remove the plus and give minus and execute again. As you can see, we remove this one. And also, I don't know, maybe if you want to add permission for all inside quotation mark groups, because group is author, group, and others. You can use just the action without the entity. So let's, I don't know, let's give the executable permission for all the entities, author group, mainly group, or principal group. I forget the other one is others, but I am talking about primary group, and more. So let's execute this one, and as you can see, okay, I wrote this wrong. Okay, I'm using but the wrong command. Let's see. Let's remove this one. I use Chmod, and as you can see, I forget typing, and as you can see, we have the executable permission for all groups. I am in groups, is author, group, and others. I already told you, but it's important. It's not groups at all. So in this context, it's group because we are talking about more than one entity: user, group, and others. And also we can remove that. And something that I want to tell you about the permission is that, as you can see, by default, once we create a file, we have certain permissions. Let's see. Let's create a new file, and watch the permission, and also create a new folder. So in this case, mkdir new folder, and see this. Look this. And as you can see, by default, the system assigned these permissions right there. And this is pretty related with the permissive actions or permissive policies. Yeah. But first of all, if you don't know what permissive means, is maybe, well, depends. When someone's or something is permissive, that means that give permission for almost all or doesn't care about it. For example, if we talk about a father that is permissive, that means the father let their kids do anything or whatever they want. So that is a permissive. But the opposite of permissive is something that just put or just set responsibilities, permissions, or just maybe avoid that things happen without certain conditions. That is not being permissive. So in this case, once we see this system is so permissive, that means that in that system you can perform whatever you want because there is no rule or the policies are so bad. But once we say is this system is not permissive, that means this system is secure, this system use correctly permission and policies, I can execute whatever I want. And as you can see, in my case was, so I have the basic configuration, and that's mean once I create a new file, in this case, the file by default can execute by itself, well, by others, neither the author, because execute a file is so risky, because that allows to author, group, or others to execute logic operation and commands that maybe could be risky for the system, so, or could damage the system. That's why by default I can execute this file. And maybe the proof of this is, for example, if I have to execute this one, as you can see, I have permission denied, but this doesn't make any sense because it's just a text, it's just a plain text. But in another case, it could be a binary, it could be bash script. So that's why the permission are not enabled by default. And maybe about folder happens with the write command, because if you remember, the read is about just list the content, write is create, modify, or well, just create and remove, and the last one is execute, and execute is just get into that file. And as you can see, group and others cannot create or delete files inside of it. So for example, that means once you create or once you want to perform a bash script, you have to give permission. In some cases, you use the +x new file, and this is so permissive because we are going to give execution permission for all guys or for all entities. So that means whatever user they want can execute this file just right there. And maybe you ask, maybe may you tell about this situation, hey, there is no risk because just the author can write, but maybe it's just one step forward. So if the author's file doesn't follow a good policy password, or there is a breaking change in some system policy, and someone can just edit, not modify the permission, just edit, because the permission, the execution permission is already given. So once modify that means that they can perform whatever command they want and do whatever they want into the system. So be careful with these ones just right there, because this means that others can execute this file. Just that means a Pepe user can use this one, but in this case doesn't make sense because do nothing. But in other case can get a virus or make a backdoor. So be careful with that. And I think that's all. Maybe also you can use combinate. For example, you also can use the read, write, execute, and let's do whatever they want with this file. As you can see, what was this file? New file. Okay, this doesn't work. That's curious because you can use this with the entity. For example, if I give to others. And as you can see, others now can write and execute. And maybe if you use this one, removing this permission just right there, as you can see, and also LSL, and as you can see, the others cannot do anything. But let's see the other hand, and as you can see again, this. But it's funny because I notice you can't use the permission group in all, for all groups, so author group and others. So it's kind useful to know. Let's see. Use for curious. Yes, you can see. Oh, depends. As you can see, give to the we remove all the permissions, and as you can see, give to all guys, well, in this case other, just write and execute, but not write. I don't know why. It's kind curious, but I hope this video was helpful. In the next episode we are going to cover how to give these commands in a maybe fast way, because we are going to use the numeric system that is depending, and we have to zoom this one and the other one, and that means write and execute. And if you use this number, that means just read, and maybe if you use this number, you can remove all the permissions and more. So I hope this video was helpful, and see you in the next time. Bye bye.